When you were captain of the 1991 United States Ryder Cup team and your famous victory at Kiawah Island, do you think that Ryder Cup changed the course of every Ryder Cup that has followed? Was that the beginning of something new?
Maybe it's the first time it played out because we hadn't had the cup back in 6 years, and 4 years prior to that, when Nicklaus got beat on his own golf course in Muirfield, due to his own fault. I mean, he was the one that pursued this thing of, okay, Great Britain and Ireland, we're kind of getting them every time. And when I played in 71 and 77, it was basically a foregone conclusion under J.A. Barron and St. Louis, and then under Dow Finsterwald and Lytham and St. Anne's in 77. And all of a sudden, Jack has this vision, and Jacqueline played a part in it, I'm sure. We'll play Europe. We'll play, Great Britain and Ireland and Europe, put them all together. And all of a sudden it was an even Steven. And it should have been, if we play here, we should be favored. And if you play over there, and you've seen it in the last two. You saw us win at Whistling Straits under Steve Stricker's leadership. And then we go over there and play in Rome. Phenomenal venue, great job. But it was almost no matter what Zach Johnson did, the Europeans were destined to win. And I would not be betting on the Europeans to succeed when we come back to Bethpage Black here in 2 years. So it's been yes, Kiawah was important because Jack loses, and then Raymond ties, had a hell of a job. It tied 2 years prior, so we hadn't seen the Cup in 6 years. And yeah, we got it back. And it was very close, obviously. It would not have been close if we hadn't had the limo wreck, and I would have been able to play Steve Pate the whole time. But you never know. I mean, it's amazing how tight these things are. And I think it changed it. I think one of the ones that really affected it, and, I've been a part of 4 Ryder Cups. 2 I played, one that I captained, the other that Azinger honored me by picking me as an assistant captain at Valhalla in 2008. Which I still think is probably the best captaining job that I have ever seen, because he changed the number of people that you could pick to be on your team, the number of help you could get on the course. He had to have 3 help, and he had this pod system of separating them into 3 or 4-man pods, and it totally exposed Faldo at that time in 2008. So it's progressed. I was very proud to. Well, when I first got the captaincy, I thought I was going to be doing a PGA West in California, only to find out because of financial reasons, and they were going to televise. It's going to be the first wall-to-wall television of a Ryder Cup in America, and they had to have it on the East Coast. So you'd have the time zone in Europe be able to be, watching this unfold. So we go to a course that nobody had seen, and it was an unbelievable venue, and Kathy and I were just honored to be picked to do it. It's the highlight of my career. I mean, they raise the flag and you play for it, and I'm very proud of the fact that I've participated in 4 Ryder Cups and I've never been on a losing team. Unfortunately, there are not many Americans that could say that now.
When Lanny was on with us recently, he alluded to a mentality, a kind of good old boys network where players wanted to be with their friends in the locker room instead of perhaps maybe having a mechanism where the best players, hottest players at the moment are playing on the team, regardless of whether you go out to dinner with them or not. Do you think that might be an accurate depiction of making a United States team, regardless of which side of the pond they're playing on, stronger?
I would hope so. There was a quartet of guys, myself included, that every time we saw each other, we talked about the Ryder Cup and what we would do if and when we were captain. And that happened to be Payne Stewart, Lanny Watkins, myself, and Paul Azinger. And a lot of great things came out of the discussions we had. And I profiled my team. I can't speak for the other players. I know Corey Pavin, who followed me, basically came up and, coming up when he was accepted to be the Ryder Cup captain later on in the 2000s, he said to me, well, I'm just going to make a few changes. I said, oh, I know what it was. It was right after Azinger, because I said, Corey, don't do anything till you talk to Paul, because Paul got this completely correct. And Paul did his to Ron Braun. I used Deborah Graham, but I profiled every player. So I knew, and as Paul said to me, he said, I can't talk to Phil Mickelson the way I talk to Anthony Kim. I mean, you've got to make your message fit the person. And that's what, in personalities, guys want to play with their friends, but that's not necessarily the best way, because you lead. We've seen some where you put two superstars together and they just don't mesh, and it's a funny way to do it. But I spent a year and a half profiling by players and having a good feel and grasp of who's going to play the best, and some of them didn't expect to play where I put them, but every one of them performed really well.